Good morning, everyone, and welcome. This is John Grieve in Governance Services. Under agenda item number 1, Councillor Hannah Biffle was nominated as the chair prior to the start of the meeting. Are all members agreeable to Councillor Biffle being chair? Yes, I've got 2 nods. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Biffle. Over to you.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this remote hearing of the Licensing Subcommittee. My name is Councillor Hannah Biffle, and I will be chairing today's hearing. Before I proceed further, could I remind everyone that today's meeting is being streamed live on the City Council's YouTube channel. Could I ask the following members of the subcommittee to introduce themselves? Councillor Abigail Marshall-Cutting.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. Councillor Abigail Marshall-Cutting is my name, and representing Little London Woodhouse and the City Centre.
And Councillor Ray.
Councillor Paul Ray, representing Huntless and Riverside Ward.
Thank you. I would like to start the hearing today by confirming that this meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee meets the requirements of the Council's Constitution, even though members of the panel are in remote attendance. While items today will be fully discussed as is usual, remote attendance requires a few slight changes as to how I will manage the debate. Therefore, can all attendees mute their microphones unless I invite them to speak? This will avoid disruption from background noise. Can all participants please keep their cameras on during the hearing? And all participants will be invited to introduce themselves at the start of the hearing to make it clear to public observers who will be involved in proceedings. I ask for your assistance and patience while I go through this process. Could I now invite officers to introduce themselves and mute your microphone once you've introduced yourself? I'll begin with Philippa Murray.
Yes, good morning. My name's Philippa Murray. I'm a solicitor with the Legal Services of Leeds City Council. I'm supported by Rob Brown, also solicitor with Leeds City Council's Legal Services. I'm here to advise the committee this morning.
Thank you. Rob, would you like to?
Good morning, I'm Robert Brown. I'm also a solicitor within Leeds City Council's Legal Services, and I'm here to support Philippa.
Thank you. Matthew Nelson.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everybody. My name is Matthew, part of Entertainment Licensing, and today I'm supported by Samantha Longfellow-Pennicott.
Thank you. John Grieve.
Morning, everyone. John Grieve, Governance Services, and I'll be clerking today's meeting.
Moving to the agenda, could I ask the clerk to go through agenda items number 2 to 5?
Thank you, Chair. Under agenda item 2, there are no appeals against the refusal of inspection of documents. Under agenda item 3, there are no items which are exempt or excluded from the press or public. Under agenda item 4, I am unaware of any late items of business. Agenda item 5, could I ask members to declare any disclosable pecuniary interests? I see people not shaking their head. I'll take that as no interest. Thank you, Chair.
So agenda item number 6, application for the grant of a premises licence for No Problem Convenience Store, 41 Armley Ridge Road, Armley, Leeds, LS12 3LD. Could I ask the applicant to introduce themselves? So David.
Hi, good morning. I'm David Dodson. I'm the owner of No Problem Convenience Store.
Thank you. June.
Good morning. My name's June Clark. I'm the licensing consultant and the representative for the applicant this morning. I apologise to my camera. It won't work for some reason. So I'm going to stay in the background.
Thank you. And Tony Clark.
Good morning. I'm providing support to June on behalf of the applicant, David Dodson, and look forward to hearing about this. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Objections have been received from local ward councillors. Could the legal advisor to the subcommittee outline the procedure for the hearing?
I can, thank you, Chair. The procedure, this is an application for the grant of a premises licence for the No Problem Convenience Store at 41 Armley Ridge Road, Armley in Leeds. The procedure for such an application is that the applicant addresses the committee first. Ordinarily, those in attendance who had made representations would then address the committee, and following that, the applicant respond or sum up to anything that has been respond to anything that's been said, or to sum up. Here there aren't any objectors present in the meeting, so I think the procedure will be that the applicant addresses the committee. The committee are able to ask the applicant questions about the application, and then the applicant would be able to sum up. In making its determination, the subcommittee will consider what is appropriate and what is proportionate to promote the licensing objectives. Those objectives are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. In relation to time limits, the licensing regulations allow the subcommittee to set a time limit on presentations, whether more than one, providing that the same time limit is applied to all parties. Our usual time limit is 15 minutes per party, and the applicant can choose to split that time and keep some of it in order to respond or to sum up. Could I ask the chair, does the subcommittee want to impose a time limit on the applicant, and if so, what would that time limit be?
As long as the applicant is happy, 15 minutes seems really reasonable to me.
Would that be acceptable to the applicant or the applicant's representative?
Yes, I'm sure we can. Thank you. That's very generous. Thank you.
And can I ask, would you want to use all of that time at once, or would you want to keep some of the time in order to sum up to the subcommittee following
the majority of time will be for the presentation, and I think we'll only need maybe 5 minutes for the summary.
So perhaps 10 and 5 minutes.
Yes, that would be fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Following the presentation, the subcommittee members may wish to ask questions. The time for questions to be asked and to be answered is in addition to the time limit set for the presentations. Please note, cross-examination isn't permitted in the subcommittee. If anyone does feel that there's a crucial question to be asked and answered, that question should perhaps be directed to the chair, who'll decide whether or not the question should be put. Parties may ask permission to call witnesses. Can I perhaps check, does the applicant have any witness to call?
There are no witnesses to actually call, but we do have letters of support. I think they will be discussed this morning.
Yes, and can I perhaps at this stage set out what has happened with those letters of support? They have been forwarded to members with the details of the people writing those letters redacted. So each of the subcommittee members have those to consider.
Yeah, the applicant, David, will actually confirm this morning that when he spoke to all the customers who offered to write a letter, he did explain to them the procedure and that the letters would be shared with the parties of the meeting, but obviously would be redacted going into the public domain. And he can confirm this morning that conversation took place with the people, and they agreed at the time. Since then, I've tried to get a second confirmation, and I have received confirmation from about five or six different ones, all confirming the same, that, you know, yes, it can be shared, but obviously they don't want personal details in the public domain.
No, and as I say, it's a redacted copy that that members have been provided with this morning. In relation to documents that have previously been submitted have been circulated to the subcommittee in advance. And can I just check that we're all working from a pack which is 26 pages long?
Yes, that's correct.
That's the case. Thank you. It would be helpful when addressing the subcommittee, if you do refer to documents, if you can perhaps identify the document to which you refer. Can I check, are there any additional documents that the applicant wishes to bring to the attention of the subcommittee?
No, none at all. Thank you.
And please note, your presentation is your only opportunity to address the subcommittee. There's no further right to sum up your case, and you do need to make sure that you said everything you wish to say and to have taken into account during your presentation. After all parties have made their presentations and after all the questions have been considered, the members will consider whether they have had all the information they require to make a decision. Once this point is reached, members of the committee will go into a private session. If members do have any additional questions to ask, they will return to the meeting to ask those questions. Following that, they'll return to private session to make the decision. Can I ask all parties to please remain in the meeting until they are asked to leave? All the parties will be informed once the hearing has ended all the parties will be informed of the decision within 5 working days, and they will be informed once the hearing has actually ended. Can I ask if you have any representations about the procedure before the subcommittee starts the hearing?
No, none from me. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Lovely, thank you. Could I now ask the licensing officer to present the application, please?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Chair. So this is in relation to an application for the grant of a premises licence. This is made for No Problem Convenience Store, which is 41 Hamley Ridge Road, Armley, Leeds, LS12. The premises currently operates as a mini market and grocery store and is looking to add the sale by retail of alcohol Monday to Thursday from 8 AM to 9 PM, Friday from 8 AM to 10 PM, Saturday from 9 AM to 10 PM and Sunday 9 AM to 9 PM. A part copy of the operating schedule showing the conditions that the applicant has offered to promote the 4 licensing objectives can be found at Appendix A on page 11 of the report. So no representations have been received to this application from the responsible authorities. However, it has attracted a representation from Narmley Ward Councillor that expresses his views are shared by the other members of that ward. The representation centres mainly on crime and disorder and public nuisance, and a copy is available on page 17 at Appendix C. In response to the concerns raised by the ward councillors in their representation, the applicant's representative has made an effort to enter into dialogue. As far as the licensing authority is aware, no response has been received, and a copy of that correspondence can be seen at Appendix D on page 19. As already mentioned, and in support of the application, the applicant has provided the licensing authority with a bundle of 15 letters expressing support for the premises and the applicant. A redacted version removing personal details but leaving the content of the letters has been circulated for consideration. And finally, to assist members with the existing pattern of licensed premises in the surrounding area, a list of these premises, including their licensable activities and hours, is available on page 23 at Appendix C. And that, Chair, is an outline of the application. Thank you.
Thank you. Could I now invite the applicant to provide details of their application? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Obviously, my name is June Clark and I'm the consultant here today on behalf of the applicant. Mr. Dodson has been running his business called No Problem Convenience Store with his partner for over 6 months now. The shop has been very popular and many of his customers live in close proximity. Both he and his partner contribute many hours of their spare time at their own expense to a local charity called Vulnerable Citizen Support and Feeding the Homeless. From comments received in the 15 letters of support, the business from day one appeared to be very welcoming, pleasant and successful grocers, and they both quickly settled into the community. Mr. Dodson and his partner seem to be greatly admired by their customers for their customer service skills and their willingness to help the community. They are extremely well liked and show likewise respect to all their customers. In the time the shop has been open, the applicant has proved himself beyond any doubt to be a responsible retailer and is more than capable of selling alcohol in a responsible and dutiful manner. The shop sells general day-to-day groceries and he regards alcohol as just another product that the customers have been asking for. I would like now to address Mr. McKenna's letter of objection. On the 9th of April, my colleague Tony Clark sent an email to Councillor McKenna pointing out the misunderstanding that the councillor seemed to have with the hours of operation and fully addressing his concerns in anticipation of a mediation process. The email contained 8 supporting documents regarding the compliance books my client will use and the notices the client will be using in his business to help support the licensing objectives. Mr. Clark never received any acknowledgement or any response from the councillor. Councillor McKenna made a letter of objection, made the following statements. Number one, he objects to the trading hours of 6 till 11 as being totally unacceptable. We have not requested these hours. We've requested 8 until 9, Sunday to Thursday, and 8 until 10 on a Friday and Saturday. Point 2 was illegal street drinkers, aggressive begging and general nuisance. We'd like to point out that there's no such thing as an illegal street drinker. It is not illegal or an offence to drink alcohol in the street. It is only an offence to refuse to stop drinking if asked by a police constable or an authorised officer, who then has the power to confiscate and discard the drink within an area covered by the PSPO. Point number 3 was antisocial behaviour caused by illegal street drinkers and elderly people do not feel safe. My client understands the concerns of the councillors. No one feels safe in the company of antisocial people. However, excuse me, there are mechanisms already in place to deal with this behaviour. The CCTV, street cameras, PSBO, and there's foot patrols. If alcohol was a dangerous product, it would be illegal and banned, but it isn't. In fact, it was the introduction of the Licensing Act in 2003 that allowed 24-hour licenses. And the idea was to bring the UK in line with the rest of Europe. It's the person who consumes the alcohol that's the danger to himself and possibly others. And people need to understand that they must take responsibility for their own actions or behaviour. And it's generally unfair to apportion the blame of a negative action by irresponsible people onto innocent parties, especially when it can drastically affect their business, as this happens often. Although these issues are acknowledged, they are not related to my client's shop. Therefore, we believe they're not relevant to this application. Point number 4 was children should not witness such behaviour. Again, my client fully acknowledges the councillor's concerns and he agrees that children should be kept safe. And this is why the stringent conditions under protection of children from harm licence and objective were proposed in his operating schedule. Number 5 was the negative impact on police resources. The removal of the SIS zone, I believe was last year, firmly acknowledged that the police and the local authority no longer believed that the area of Armley continued to be a high risk. The implementation of the SIS zone was a complete success and helped along with other strategies to reduce the problems in the area to a level of acceptance, which is what it is now. The absence of a police representation here today also confirms that they have approved our application in its current form. West Yorkshire Police Authority never submitted a representation or asked my client to accept any additional conditions. The police are the experts in crime and disorder, and the local authority always look to the police for guidance in these areas. Again, we reiterate that the police are not here today, therefore we can safely accept that in their opinion, they consider that the panel do not require their expert and professional guidance in assessing this application for a new premises licence. This should reinforce to all parties here that our application in the expert opinion of the police does not undermine any of the licensing objectives. Point number 6 was illegal drinkers gather in Armley Moor causing distress to residents. As mentioned before, these issues can and are being dealt with by other systems that are in place. Again, this is not relevant to my client's application. Number 7, too many off licenses in Town Street with access to cheap alcohol. There's no need for another licence. Need is not a subject for the sub-licensing committee to discuss today. It is a matter for the planning authority to consider. With respect to Mr. McKenna's letter of objection, he mentions illegal drinkers 3 times. And I just wanted to explain to the councillor what the PSPO is. But obviously the councillor's not here today, so maybe I can skip that bit. But there is a PSPO in place, and it does cover 2 of the areas. There's quite a few areas that can be covered by it, but it actually only covers 2 of the areas. And one of them is street drinking and the other one is the refuse bins. So just to basically finish off, Mr. Dodson understands the comments and concerns of the councillor, and with due respect, Mr. Dodson would like to assure the councillors today that he is running a professional business and would never perform any action that would undermine any of the licensing objectives. Mr. Dodson will have all the necessary tools in place that will help him to reinforce and underpin the licensing objectives, which is a full set of compliance logbooks and signage. I'll just skip a little bit more because it was basically for the councillor, but he's not here. So I'll just go through. All right. Okay, we have received 15 letters of support from Mr. Dodson's customers who all live in close proximity to the shop. And the genuine letters, people have given their contact details. And some of the quotes are they've made some very nice statements about him. He's supportive of the people that we support. This is Aspire Community Benefit Society. He fully understands the issues and demands of individuals. He'll go out of his way, a respected member of the community. Another gentleman said he's never seen any misuse or underage drinking around the shop. He brings happiness and a sense of pride to the community. He helps the local charities around Armley, a valued member of the community. I have never witnessed bad behaviour. Customer service from the shop is outstanding. And it just goes on and on and on. Vulnerable Citizen Support is the charity that my client helps. And the gentleman said, I've been getting help from Mr. Dodson for the last 6 months in food donation. And he's provided a lifeline for myself and the community. And there's lots more if you read them. The consensus from Mr. Dodson's customers is that he is a well-respected and valued member of the community. With regard to the operating schedule, what's being considered here today is an application for a premises licence under Section 16 of the Licensing Act. There's only 3 criteria that we need to fulfil. 1 that is over 18, 2nd that is entitled to work, and 3rd that is in a position to run a business. And he fulfills all 3 requirements. And then under Section 17, the 2 main sections that we've done all the paperwork correctly, advertised, paid the fee. And the important bit is under Section 4, subsection G, the steps to which it's proposed to take to promote the licensing objectives. Prior to the preparation of the operating schedule, we gathered and considered quite a few policies and documents. One of them was your statement of licensing policy, the revised guidance. We also studied the public spaces protection order and 8 other documents. After an initial comprehensive risk assessment, we concluded a minimum of 35 robust conditions were required to fully support the licensing objectives. 8 of these are related to the CCTV, which we all know the CCTV covers all 4 licensing objectives. And then I've got a main list here of all the, I mean, I trust everybody has read the operating schedule and the conditions that we've already offered, so I won't need to repeat them. We also like to mention to the panel today that the applicant was applied for and approved 3 TENS, temporary licenses, that he operated over the Christmas and New Year period. It was done as a litmus test over a busy retail period, and it was successfully run without any complaints, and no alcohol related crimes were reported. So the question today that we have to ask the councillor, if he was Councillor McKenna, and the panel is, does our application promote all the licensing objectives sufficiently to cover and support them? And if not, we must ask the panel to then, under Section 18, subsection B states, having regard to the representation, to take such steps mentioned as it considers appropriate for the licence and objectives. If the panel consider any areas of weakness, then my client will be willing to consider additional conditions to strengthen those areas. As we are aware, the panel may also refuse to specify Mr. Dodson as the DPS, but this application is not about Mr. Dodson. It's about an application for a premises licence and whether the granting of it would undermine any of the licensing objectives. And the premises licence can still be granted without Mr. Dodson. And finally, obviously, the panel can reject if they firmly believe that no matter how many conditions are added to the operating schedule, the granting of this licence would still undermine one or more of the licensing objectives. So today we respectfully ask the panel to approve our application, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Does the subcommittee have any questions to the applicant? I have one. I just wanted to confirm the hours that you're looking for the alcohol licence. Is that all of the hours that you are open as a premises?
The client wanted originally to open longer hours, but decided that it would probably be better if he reduced them.
So anytime the store is open, the alcohol licence will be, I'm trying to get to whether or not there will be times when the store will be open, but it won't be licensed, and whether that will therefore, whether there's any conditions needed around that.
Yeah,
but if that's not the case, then that's fine.
Yes, it's a dangerous situation to be open when you can't sell alcohol, because it can cause conflict at any time. 6 o'clock in the morning, you know, it can cause conflict. So it's always advisable, and that's why the government actually advised in the guidance that a shop must be able to sell alcohol at the same time as its trading hours. So for this application, the answer is the opening and closing hours will be the same as the hours requested for the sale of alcohol.
Yeah, that was why I was asking the question.
Yeah,
perfect.
Thank you.
In which case, would you like to respond and summarise? Obviously, there hasn't been a vast array of discussion, but we're all out of questions. So is there anything you'd like to add with your final 5 minutes?
I'll just basically, it was just basically what I said. I mean, I wasn't expecting this. But just a quick summary. We've described and confirmed with supporting evidence from 15 independent people that our client is a reliable and responsible retailer. He has become quickly an asset and integral part of the community. And we believe that we have addressed and hopefully satisfied all the councillors' areas of concern under the prevention of crime and disorder, which was the licensing objective that was in his letter of objection. We have also pronounced to the panel that the absence of a police representation here today also confirmed that they have approved our application in its current form, and they never asked for any additional conditions. And it reinforces to all parties here that our application, in the expert opinion, does not undermine any of the licensing objectives, especially the crime and disorder. We believe that the application is robust enough and stands strong on its own, and we kindly ask the panel to approve the application on its own merits. And if the panel do consider that there are areas of weakness, then we would be happy to discuss additional conditions. And that finalises our summary. Thank you.
Thank you. The subcommittee will now move into private session to deliberate on the application. Could I ask that all parties remain available should the subcommittee have any additional questions?
Yes, I'll remain on LinkedIn.
If there are any additional questions, you'll be invited back into the meeting by the clerk.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're muted, John.
I am. Members and legal officers and the clerk will now move into the breakout room for private discussion and will return to the meeting once those discussions are complete. This may be up to 10 minutes. Can you take us into the breakout rooms, Tash? Okay, Chair, I think we're all back.
Many thanks. Thank you to everyone for your attendance. That concludes the business of today. You will be informed of the decision within 5 working days. Thank you.